Hi, hello, how's it going? It's Lo. We're not here today to talk about a book, a single one this time. And that book is this one. This is The Beautiful Ones by Silvia moreno-garcia. And we need to talk about this. First things first, I would like to thank Kay for sending me the physical copy of The Beautiful Ones. I love it. I tabbed it. Kay watched me read the entirety of this book in one sitting over the span of 3 hours. So, I hope that this gift has given you your money's worth because I'm obsessed with The Beautiful Ones. I am part of the Beautiful Ones gang. Oh my god, I love this book so much. You might be thinking, Louisa, okay, have you lost your mind? Are you okay? Are your brain cells okay? And they are fine. But they just short circuit whatever I think about this book because this book is so fucking good. So today, I want to sit down and talk to you guys about my newest favorite book of all times, and that is The Beautiful Ones by Silvia moreno-garcia. The Beautiful Ones by Silvia moreno-garcia follows this young girl called Nina who is part of a noble family but lives in the countryside of an unnamed country that has a vague scent of French. So it's vaguely French. It's never really explained. It doesn't really fucking matter. That's not the point of the story. She is used to having a lot of freedom in her life, but her cousin, who is basically the patriarch of the family, thinks that it's a good idea for her to spend summer or ball season with him and his wife back at the capital. And so Nina leaves the comfort of her home and goes to live with her cousin and his cousin's wife called Valerie. Valerie is important because Valerie is a fucking bitch. However, what was supposed to be just a husband finding season for Nina ends up being thrown into upheaval by the appearance of the mysterious Hector, who, like Nina herself, has the power of telekinesis and makes a living by performing his incredible telekinetic abilities. Nina's abilities are not that honed, and so Nina ends up falling in love with Hector without knowing that Hector was already in love with Valerie. You might be listening to me talk a little bit about the plot of the story, and you might be thinking, Lisa, that sounds a lot like a soap opera. It does. It is a fucking soap opera in book form, and I ate it up. It's so good. It's, oh my fucking god. And I've seen a lot of reviews about the book go, oh my god, this is written like a soap opera, but you have to understand the tradition of where this book came from. And so before I actually get into my analysis of the book proper, I want to talk a little bit about the context and about the media production that The Beautiful Ones is based on, which is soap operas or Mexican telenovelas. If you are from Latin America and if you are from any country that consumes this from Latin America, you know that Latin America produces a lot of soap operas, be called telenovelas or novelas in Portuguese, because Brazil produces a lot of them. And usually, those types of soap opera have a very specific sort of plot line, very specific sort of plot development, and just ways in which things will go. There is always this idea or this plot of the main character who is always naive and innocent and good-hearted to be screwed over by the villain or the bad guys in the story. It's something that might feel very repetitive, and if you are not a good enough soap opera writer, then it truly is. It feels like more of the same. But the good ones are really able to work with this format to actually develop a story that is compelling and that works. And you need to understand the context upon which soap operas are created. Specifically, soap operas are a sort of storytelling that is aimed to the working class. And it's a story that is meant to take your mind off of the daily gruesome realities of day-to-day life. In fact, as I'm sitting here recording this video, my mom is sitting in the other room and I can listen to her watching some soap operas of the time that she was young, like from the 80s or something. If you analyze soap operas and telenovelas and stuff as a simply emotionally compromised people making shitty choices, you miss the nuance that this is meant to take your mind off of the reality. And precisely because of this reason that soap operas have such a structured sort of plot. There's always the time of the miscommunication, the time that you think that the villain will win, and then you're like, oh, what will happen? What will happen? You know what's gonna happen. But at the same time, there is some sort of emotional release that comes with seeing bad people get punished and good people be rewarded, because this seldom happens in life. The reason why I'm saying this is because I was raised on soap operas. I remember coming back home from school and sitting with my grandmother when she used to live with us, like watching Mariela del Barrio reruns, badly dubbed. When I say badly, the Brazilian dubs of Mariela del Barrio were horrid, and that made it even more iconic. At the same time, I remember, my mom coming back from work extremely tired, and I would sit down and lay on her lap while we would watch soap operas together. There is a lot of affective memory that goes into the genre of soap opera, and is definitely an effective one precisely because the plot is so simple that you can work through different and important topics that would need to be discussed with the community at large. And I know there are many other countries in the world that actually produce and consume a lot of soap operas, like the Philippines, like Mexico, like Argentina, like India, like South Korea. But speaking from Brazil, who is a great producer of soap operas and the ones that I grew up with, because of the repetitiveness and because you kind of know where the plot's going to go and you kind of know that everything is going to end up okay, you kind of let yourself be taken into the emotional considerations of the characters and the actual development of that character throughout the story. And so I feel like understanding soap operas in the way that feels extremely reductive and in the way that undermines completely the power of the message and the power of just, wanting a reprieve from your everyday life, but still being able to understand the messages that lie underneath that plot that you kind of know how it's gonna end, feels extremely important. And because Silvia Moreno-Garcia is Mexican, it's important for us to discuss this and discuss the importance and the relevance and the cultural aspect of how telenovelas are incredibly formative to her as a storyteller, and how the translation that she made between a genre that usually spends months in television and has different nucleus of different people. You always have a comedic circle. You have like several different parallel storylines going on besides the main storyline that can connect or not. The way that she worked this into a book was amazing. And I feel like if you're gonna walk into The Beautiful Ones, you need to walk not with an understanding of soap opera as campy, as tacky, as, simple. It's not that. Soap operas are working class sorts of storytelling, yes, but there are also types of storytelling that need some sort of very refined skill in order to lay it with the public. You're telling the same story over and over again, yes, but you have to be able to give it a different twist to be sure that the public will stick to it. You have to be able to make sure that this plot that is known and familiar to the public, and this is why the public watches it, is going to be done in a way that feels fresh enough for the public to be invested in. And this is why, for instance, soap operas like Mariela del Barrio and La Usurpadora are so popular, because they took something that was extremely predictable and gave it a twist. And maybe the twist that they gave was Tati Cantoral being fucking insane on camera. But that is still good. It's fun, and we like to see the villain go apeshit insane, knowing that that villain is going to be taken down at the end. This is formative to Latin American and Mexican, specifically in this case, storytellers. Whenever we're saying diversify your shelves, we're also saying diversify the ways in which you can do storytelling. I think it was RF Kwan who mentioned this on a thread. It was like, traditional Chinese stories don't find purchase in American markets because they're not told in a way, and they're not, the conflict doesn't appear in a way that is familiar to American markets. And so this means that those stories are not sold, or usually, whenever a person tries to do a story in that sentence, in that way, that story usually gets edited beyond recognition. And I feel like this is the same way with telenovelas and Mexican, soap operas, because it is a very specific way of storytelling that if you were to analyze it through American eyes and not understanding this as a form of storytelling that is very communal and unifies this entire continent and many other countries in the global south, then you will not understand the depth of the story that is trying to be told, and you're going to lay out incredibly complex storylines and plot lines and character developments because you will label that as tacky and, not good. You have to go into it with a little bit of leeway, understanding that this is not gonna be fucking Virginia Woolf. It's not gonna be Edgar Allan Poe. It's not gonna be Jane Austen. Even though Jane Austen feels and reads a lot like a telenovela, but I digress. But it's not gonna be like those classics that you're allowed to think as good literature, but it's going to be something that takes you off of your mindset, takes you off of the difficult things of your life, will offer you some sort of escapism in a way that will not bring you anxiety to know what happens at the end, but will allow you to enjoy the road and the path that those characters will take towards the end of the story. I used to be a telenovela snob, I will not lie, but nowadays I'm a huge fan. I love them. I feel like it offers such a form of connection between countries because Brazil exports telenovelas to all countries on earth, basically. And it's just so weird to see things that are familiar to me be familiar to people from Argentina and be familiar to people in Portugal and Mozambique and the Philippines and India as well. And so how the same plot structure will work in different cultures because it allows for so much leeway within the character creation and stuff. And it's not the same plot structure that we're used to, like in fantasy stuff. It's a plot structure that rings something very wholesome and very familiar, at least inside of me. I would love to know what other people not from this context thought of The Beautiful Ones. I know Kay loved it. But I feel like it's precisely because this is something that it's somewhat predictable, but you can still enjoy the ride and feel taken out of a context that might be too difficult to bear while you are enjoying a beautiful story. And I feel like, we can move forward from the hero's journey and we can explore other forms of plot structure and storytelling that perhaps we wouldn't have thought of it before. It feels good to be connected to people of other cultures by something that feels good for fucking once. Brazil, India, united by soap operas and terrible COVID mismanagement. Okay, after this entire digression about soap operas, I feel like you have the framework to work with when you're going into The Beautiful Ones. So basically, now that you understand that this is a story that is meant to be campy, is meant to be a little tacky, is meant to be a little predictable, and it's meant to pull you out of a place of frustration and stress and stuff, and to bring you into a story that is easy but still packs a punch. Now that you have understood this, what did I think about the actual book? I am happy to report that this is a 5-star read. I love this book. This book is so good. This book is so good. Se você é brasileiro, esse livro parece muito com Chocolate com Pimenta, a novela. Muito bom. I absolutely loved this book. It was so good. It was all that I needed from a book to pull me out of a place of frustration that I was with my thesis and everything, and just bring me into a world that I knew the rules and I knew exactly where the plot was going, and so there were no thoughts, just very beautifully written vibes. The writing in this book is so good. The writing is beautiful. The writing is, oh my god, it's so poetic. It just hits you straight in the face with how beautiful it is. There is this one part right after the miscommunication trope that Hector turns to his best friend and he says, "I think she wanted nothing from me," Hector added, "nothing at all, but to let her love me." Specifically talking about the characters, I think that they all kind of fit the tropes of soap operas very well. Nina is very innocent and very naive, and that means that she gets screwed over quite a lot, but at the same time, she does learn from it and grow. And so it's not like she's stupid in her innocence. It's just like she's just a girl that needs to learn a little bit of life and who is very idealistic, but learns how to ground herself, but never loses that part of herself that was inherently good. And so I feel like her character journey between, just living idealistically and then coming to a point where she's still allowed to dream and she's still allowed to have high expectations of life, but she's a little bit more grounded and she understands a little bit more about how life is difficult and how, you know, certain things might not go her way, but that doesn't stop her from being a good person. So I loved it. Hector, I started the book dead set on hating him. He has grown on me like a vine. So good. Amazing. Like the way that he eventually discovered that he was in love with a memory rather than a person, and how, you know, the memory was much more favorable than the actual person that he was in love, and how he learned how to open himself up to affection again, like freely given affection for a real human being, a real person of flesh and bones who might break his heart eventually, but it was worth the risk. I loved to hate Valerie, because Valerie is dead on precisely the type of villain that works so well with soap operas, because she's the type of villain that you love to hate. And so I think that she joins the ranks of iconic telenovela villains like Paola Bracho, or like Soraya Montenegro, or like, you know, that confused math lady meme that everybody uses? So that is from a scene of a soap opera called Senhora do Destino.
Nasce pra isso eu já aceitei. Eu tô dentro, eu assino onde for, assino com meu próprio sangue.
And that character is an amazing villain. In the soap opera, her name was Nazaré Tedesco.
Gostosa. Irresistível. É impressionante como o tempo só te valoriza.
So iconic, so important for Brazilian culture. To this day, it's like a major influence. And I feel like it's because she plays it so well, this character that is just evil and is just unhinged. And okay, there might be some valid reasons on why this character is the way that it is, but at the same time, she's just unhinged and she's just bad. And so hating her is easy, and it doesn't draw you some sort of moral conflict, because you're like, yeah, sure, I'm supposed to hate this character. I'm supposed to feel this way. And so you just kind of let the book take you through the motions without actually trying to crack your head open to understand it. And you know, sometimes you want that. You want that type of book that makes you work for it. You know, I read this month, This Is How You Lose the Time War, and it was an incredibly complex book that I'm not really sure that I really get it to this day. But it's definitely a book that makes me work for it, even though I loved it. But The Beautiful Ones is a different idea, because it doesn't really make you work for it as much as it embraces you into the storytelling and goes, okay, let me take your mind off things for a minute. Put your feet up. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story that you know how it's going to end, but you're going to love it regardless, because of the twist that she added to the story, and the twist of the writing and the pacing and the background that she laid for this story. I thought it was very interesting, her choice not to set this in a specific country, but to create a sort of universe that is similar to ours, but not exactly ours, so we can have some level of being removed from the story that she wants to tell, as if we're truly just watching a soap opera take place, something that is distant from us in a way, but that still reflects a little bit of her struggles. And so I loved that she just created this without laying too heavily on the world building. Like, it's vaguely French. I will say though, I have read Mexican Gothic, and I have read Gods of Jade and Shadow, and as you all know, I enjoyed those, but I think this is where Silvia hit the jackpot, because she was able to translate something that is so common and commonplace into Latin America media consumption, into Latin America storytelling, into a story that feels fresh, even though it feels familiar, and that offers a comfort of coming home after a long work day and sitting down to hear someone tell you a story that you know how it's gonna end, but you're just along for the ride. Finally, I think that The Beautiful Ones is able to take a very worn form of storytelling, give it a fresh take, and take something that feels oddly familiar into something that felt new and exciting, but at the same time was still able to make me feel like I felt all those years ago watching soap operas with my family. So, without further ado, I gave The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno-Garcia 5 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend you pick this one up to read. Anyways, if you read The Beautiful Ones, let me know in the comments down below. If you like watching soap operas, let me know which one was your favorite ones down below. If you have watched Brazilian soap opera, let me know which one was your favorite. My particular favorite was Senhora do Destino, also Avenida Brasil. I really like Chocolate com Pimenta as well. I like the old ones. The oldies but goodies. Gabriela Cravo Canela and Tieta do Agreste, Pastora de Cabras. Really good. Alright, so this was today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!